My name is Mark Taylor, and I'm an advanced mortgage planner for AmeriFirst Financial.
Okay. Tell me a little bit about what you're seeing on the mortgage front.
There are so many things going on with such a volatile market. Aside from the declining ability to get funding for consumers and the consistent credit restrictions, we're seeing a lot of potential strategic defaults from consumers wanting to get out of their homes because they feel aggrieved that the market value isn't there for what they expected to get. That's the big issue.
And do you think this is something we're going to see more of?
Yes, it's been publicized on major networks as the economically viable solution if you look at it from a return rate of, well, it might take me 12 years to recapture the value of my property. Why should I keep making a payment? Unfortunately, I have a little problem with that as an individual and as a professional because we made a promise to repay. The very first mortgage document we sign is the note that says, I promise to repay. If we force banks to accept strategic default, then when does it stop? We go buy a car and decide not to pay. When we talk to consumers who are upset that their properties are upside down, I consistently remind them that when they purchased their last vehicle, the minute they drove it off the lot, it was worth less. Most consumers come back and say, yes, but I didn't buy my house expecting it to be worth less. My response to that has always been, when your parents bought their house, what was their expectation? If you asked them, they would have been happy to have lived in it for 5 years and have got back what they paid for it. It's only been in the last 4 or 5 years we've had this false rate of return. If you can afford to pay the house and can keep the payment going, then you should. Being able to walk away from a house causes this problem to expand and continue down into the future. Walking away from the house is massively damaging on your credit for life. A foreclosure can affect your job. If you have security clearances, affects your credit for the future, and actually perpetuates the problem that we have right now with decreasing property values. A lot of people always ask me, when will the market recover? I mean, if I knew that, obviously I'd probably be running Wall Street, but most analysts and most of the computations that I see speaking all over the valley suggest that it'll be sometime 2015 to 2018. We're seeing a lot of more short sales going through that are being accepted. The process is becoming simpler and it's saving the banks a lot of money. One of the reasons we know that this is going to continue, aside from currently having 51,000 foreclosures on the property books, we have to understand that last month, according to TransUnion, 13,000 people in Arizona missed their first mortgage payment that they'd never missed before. You also have to compound that with statistics shown all over the country that 70% of consumers who miss their first mortgage payment end up in foreclosure without asking for help. It's quite a frightening statistic. And combined with that, the supposed shadow inventory and the number of homes that are vacant the banks have taken back and haven't put back on the property, onto the property market, it's clear that this will be a long-term problem. It's dramatic in the fact that a lot of the foreclosures are also caused by economic factors like unemployment, inability to get full-time work, they're being cut down to part-time work. So it affects local merchants, it affects areas, those people that abandon the properties and do what they believe to be the simplest thing, mail the keys back. We've all heard of jingle mail. That devalues the property areas. It causes people to want to buy in those areas, very difficult for them to finance homes. So you have communities completely imploding. And you can see them all over the outlying areas of the valley where a community that was once prosperous with kids in the front yard, now you have weeds and dried up grass and the community areas are falling apart and nobody really wants to buy those properties anymore. And you see the local merchants and all the strip malls closing down, for lease signs all over the place. It's quite disturbing. I do believe the housing market is slowing down. I do believe that it's going to get worse before it gets better. What I am encouraged about is the level of professionals that are out there, realtors and business people who are starting to understand how this process works better. So we have more tools in our arsenal to help consumers. And anybody that's viewing this who's thinking about walking away from their house, please, it has some serious consequences. Talk to a certified real estate agent, talk to a professional, talk to someone myself, go to various websites, do some solid research before allowing your emotions and frustration of throwing your keys back at the bank force you to walk away. The consequences are just horrific.
The thought basically is to go to old-fashioned values, right? You buy a home because you want to live in it for a while. Is that pretty much what you tell people, or?
Yeah, and the big paradigm shift in the market has been they didn't buy a home, they bought a house, aka an ATM. Biggest thing is with the people that really want to save their houses, that have raised a family and have been laid off, the distinction for them has to be to make it go from a home to a house, then they can finally let it go. Most consumers didn't buy a house with long-term goals. They were in it for 2 or 3 years based on appreciation and then moving up. And that's the big problem that we have. But again, it's individual circumstances. We still have to look at Arizona. What do they say? We have 1,200 people moving in. We have the perfect weather. We have a great environment. It's a good place to come and live. Wasn't it just voted #1 or something, Phoenix, to be here? So it's got all the right reasons, and it will be one of the fastest states to recover. And it will have the best appreciation. And I think in 6 or 7 years, we'll look back at this and realize that it really wasn't that bad at the end of the day.